Reader Pops. Do I have a treat for you today? Today we're going to be reading the Twilight series. Whether you love or hate the movies, you gotta admit, the series is iconic. Personally, I'm on the side that loves the movies, but I have never read the books. I'm pretty sure this book came out in 2005. I would have been 5 years old. So valid that I did not read this whenever it came out. So I am going to be reading all these books and comparing them to the movies. And we're gonna see what's better, the books or the movies. Well, let's go ahead and get started.
Jeff is just round the block. He's at the drink and ready to run. Thought I'd be better by now, but I can make my feet move along. And as soon as I see you, I forget about it. Just as soon.
It's the next day and I want to give you a little update with where we're at so far in Twilight. I just made it to chapter 7, which is page 129. Bella just had the conversation with Jacob at La Push about the cold ones. Bella's definitely starting to piece things together, so I think we're about to get the iconic say it scene. A couple things that are standing out so far. The first like 80 pages literally is like word for word what happens in the movie. The only thing that's different at the very beginning is we don't see Billy and Jacob with the truck. That is the only thing different with the movie. I think they just wanted to get Jacob introduced sooner. One thing I am noticing, since everything's in Bella's perspective, if I had just read this book whenever it first came out, I don't think I would have a good grasp of what Bella looks like. The only thing that seems to be discussed fairly heavily is that she's pale, but Bella doesn't find herself beautiful, but obviously she is somewhat attractive because like 4 guys asked her to a girls' choice prom within like 5 pages. Also, Bella's obsession starts just so quickly. The first time she ever sees him in the cafeteria, like her obsession never goes away. And she even mentions in the book a few times, like, oh, this is unhealthy, like my mood depends on him and that's not good. But yet, like, she is still just obsessed. And I definitely understand why Rob felt the need to be like so broody and moody within these books, because Edward definitely is that vibe of just like, you don't want to be my friend, I'm the bad guy. I think Kristen Stewart definitely played up Bella's awkwardness. Kristen Stewart's inability to speak within the film really stands out because Bella is like quick-witted towards Edward and like gives him a tough time because he is so moody towards her, and she's like, dude, what the F is your problem? So it's just funny thus far to see the differences and where the actors took creative liberties. I just realized that I'm kind of matching this book because I'm in black, and then with my red nails I'm just like Twilight today. I didn't even do that intentionally, but hey, I guess subconsciously my brain knew to like match the book, which is really funny. Obviously there's a big chunk of the book left, so I'm curious if there's going to be a lot of scenes that we start cutting out or if they continue to stay pretty close to the book. Let's continue on with Twilight.
Another rainy afternoon, I don't know what I'm to do. I just miss you more than anything. It's way too quiet.
Okay, it's time for another debrief because they had the discussion where Bella says, I think you're a vampire, and it's so different from the movie. He saves her from those gross guys in Port Angeles. They go to dinner, and then on their way home, they get talking, and kind of easily comes up that she thinks he's a vampire, and he's just like, yeah. It was so uneventful. I'm finishing chapter 9 on page 195, and it ends with about 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. That happens at 40% in the book. This girl is crazy. I am just so curious how I would have felt about this if I didn't know the movies, because she is just so obsessed so early on. It's so weird. I'll probably take a little break here, but it was really nice reading that last little chunk while listening to the soundtrack. It definitely sets the vibe so well. So I 100% would recommend. Just finished Twilight. I think to rate this, because like this isn't even insta love, insta lust, it's insta obsession. I feel like I'd probably give it like a 3 or 3.5 as a actual rating, but because of nostalgia, I'm probably gonna give it a 4 stars on Goodreads. I do think this book is a little bit too long. From around the 200 to 300 page mark, it got really mundane. It was just them like going to school, driving around, having a lot of conversations, and it was kind of boring and unnecessarily drawn out. A lot of those parts were either condensed into one scene in the movie or just cut out entirely. And I can definitely see why. I don't think it was overly needed. Again, the first 80 pages and then the ending is like pretty word for word. Obviously the next book is New Moon. I'm curious to see how I will like that one, because Edward is hardly in New Moon. We get a lot of time with Jacob, but I'm definitely not mad that I decided to read this. It's very nostalgic, puts you right back into like the 2010s. It's a good time.
How it sways in the sun, keeping our stories in its motion, lies the truth about us. Things time will tell, we might never know. We'll be gone before it all begins. Send me your songs of tomorrow. I'm dying to know.
Long time no chat, friends. It might not feel that long to you, but it's actually been, I think, over a week since I've talked to the vlog about this book, because in all honesty, I'm struggling through this one. We definitely get more time and detail of Bella's depression in this book, and it's just not been a funky and fresh time for me, because that's just really not what I need to be reading about right now. So I've kind of just been trudging along slowly but surely. I'm now on chapter 15, so I am about 60% of the way done. I'm hoping that I'll just be able to push through, finish this out by tomorrow, and then we can move on to Eclipse. Where I'm at in the book so far is Bella now knows about the werewolves. So I think we are out of the depression zone. And I think within 50 or 60 pages, it's going to be her and Alice's race against the clock. It's starting to make me uncomfortable reliving and seeing in detail Bella's dependence on Edward because it's just so unhealthy. I cannot believe we were romanticizing this codependency in the 2000s. Like, what on earth was going on? Like, why was no one concerned? One thing I will say about the writing in this one, I felt like the first, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 pages of this one, Stephenie Meyer was trying to do a bit too much. Like, she had a totally different writing style. It felt like she was trying to be much more lyrical and make this more than what it actually is. Like, come on, this is a teenage paranormal romance. It's really not that deep. Now, by the 300 page mark, I think she's back to the same writing style that we saw within Twilight, but my enjoyment level of New Moon is definitely below Twilight. Now, instead of really this being a romance, I mean, this is just sad. We're just in Bella's depressed, unhealthy, immature head, and it's just somewhat painful to get through. My initial thoughts, if I gave Twilight a 4, I'm thinking a 3 with this one, but in all honesty, that's pretty generous. I don't really know if this deserves a 3 stars. Probably more of like a 2.5. I wish this was giving more fall. Like, there was a reason I read this series in October. I thought it was going to give me very autumnal vibes, which Twilight did. New Moon, I think most of this book takes place in like February, March, so it doesn't give autumn. If I ever were to reread this series, I feel like just rereading Twilight gets the job done. I don't know if I'll ever read this full series again. I think Breaking Dawn will be really good, and I'm very curious to see how the infamous fight scene happens. But yeah, New Moon, Eclipse, don't have super high hopes. And that is where I'm at. Just wanted to update you guys before I just went and finished this. I have finished New Moon, and I can't even describe to you the breath of relief I felt after finishing this book. I mean, we all knew Twilight wasn't perfect, okay? I'm not asking for perfection here, but my Goodreads review for New Moon was, I fear this was peak mental instability. Bella's thoughts within this entire book, so unhealthy. Jacob, so unhealthy. Edward, so toxic. Oh my god, like, these characters were truly driving me nuts. And if you found the movie a bit frustrating, you honestly like can't even believe the book. Edward is so much worse. And whenever he like comes back into the picture and they're revisiting whenever he left her in the woods, he kind of has this air of like, Bella, you're so stupid. How could you have ever believed me saying that I wanted to leave you? Like, you just accepted it so easily because you're so dumb. I was literally about to throw this book at the wall whenever I was reading that part. I just was so frustrated. In an attempt to give me some mental sanity back, I'm gonna listen to Eclipse as an audiobook. I'm gonna go around, decorate our home for fall, and also probably do a little bit of a puzzle. And I just realized I never even gave you my rating. My rating was a 2 stars on this. And again, I think a 2 stars is a little bit generous. But we are now halfway through the Twilight series. I don't think this is making me love the series more. I think this is actually making me start to hate it, which makes me so sad because I used to just love Twilight and the nostalgia. So I really need Eclipse and Breaking Dawn to bring us home. update time because I have now completed Eclipse. I didn't feel like I needed to do a midway check-in with this book because I didn't realize just how mundane this book is. We were at 40%, and when I tell you nothing had happened, nothing had happened. Obviously, chronically being stuck in Bella's head, we were just going through a cycle of, I'm mad at Jake, but I forgive him. I'm mad at Edward, but I forgive him. I'm mad at Charlie, but I forgive him. Literally, that's it. I'm so glad that I was just listening to that as an audiobook because that would have severely dragged. I landed on a 3 stars for Eclipse because nothing really changes in this book. Like, where our characters are at before is really similar to where they're at the end of this book. You know, if we were looking at 2 points of a plot line, we kind of just did a big old loop to just land right back where we started. I actually think the movie is so much significantly better than the book on this one because with the whole loop around plot with the newborn army, we see next to none of that in the book because we're only in Bella's head and she doesn't know anything about the army. At least in the movie, we get the 2 sides of the story and there's a lot more suspense being built because of that. This one was just kind of like flat and boring. Very much, I think, could easily be skipped. The only thing that would change is that the vampires and the werewolves have a bit of a better relationship now, and Bella agreed to get married. So I am happy and sad that we still have 1 book left. I kind of wish it was over at this point, but I do have high hopes for Breaking Dawn. Obviously, they split this book up into 2 movies, and I personally think that unironically, these 2 movies are the best, not only for all of the character growth that we see, but just the plot is so much more involved. Also, I just want to bring up Jacob in the books is horrific. There's 2 situations in Eclipse where I'm like, is this not assault? Like, this feels like assault to me. So I don't like that. If you're a Jacob girl from watching the movies, absolutely do not read the books. You will hate him at the end of it because I am really hating him right now. So that is my book rant complete. On to our 4th and final book. This puzzle I'm doing is kicking my ass. I did a 1,000-piece puzzle in my reading highest and lowest rated books on my TBR video, and I did a 1,000-piece puzzle in like 6 or 7 hours. I have put so much more time on this puzzle and I'm not even halfway done. So this one's kicking my ass. I might audiobook Breaking Dawn for a little bit. So let's go ahead and hop on into Breaking Dawn.
Jeff is just round the block. He's at the drink and ready to run. Thought I'd be better by now, but I can make my feet move along. And as soon as I see you, I forget about it. Just as soon I get used to letting you go. A fickle heartbeat and I'll go blind. You feel exactly every void I have inside. I'm your Valerie, you're like a rock, but still I try so hard to be something I'm not.
Hey guys, wanting to do a quick update on Breaking Dawn, but I need this to be quick because I have to get to work. I have hit 75% through this book. I must say the story within this book is definitely the best out of any of the books so far. What I really liked was towards the middle, we got quite a few chapters in Jacob's perspective, and it was just really nice to get another POV. I feel like this is always something I come back to whenever I'm reading a book that we mainly are just in one character's head. I will always take a dual POV. I can get very frustrated with the character very quickly when I'm having to be ran through every single thought that comes through their head. So getting a break from Bella and getting Jacob's POV was superb. At this point, being 75% of the way through, we are now back in Bella's perspective. For the Breaking Dawn movies, I guess they did split it up right in the middle, but the first half of this book just felt so much longer. Didn't feel like so many things were happening. Now that Renesmee's in the picture and her connection to Jacob has happened, I feel like things are moving a lot quicker. And I think the last 25% of this is gonna fly by because they still need to make all of their alliances, bring them to the home, introduce them to the werewolves, and then obviously the infamous fight scene. And it seems like the fight scene is only gonna be like a chapter or two. So I really do feel like the end of this is gonna fly by, which I'm not complaining about because she's chunky. I am hoping that I can accomplish that I finish this book by the end of today because I have been reading this series for like 3 weeks now. I thought this was going to be so much easier than it was. Joke's on me with that one, honestly. I also thought I was gonna watch all of the movies while reading these, but if you couldn't tell already, these books are slowly making me go insane. So I've taken a little pause on the movies. I think I'm gonna just skip Eclipse because really, like, what the hell even happens in that movie? And I might just hop all the way to Breaking Dawn in a few weeks because your girl needs a little brain break. I think I've done plenty of B-roll for this vlog, so I'm gonna just hop right to my conclusions and I'll see you guys in the next clip. We did it, friends. We did it. I truly didn't know if this day would come. I am so happy to put the Twilight saga behind me. All of my thoughts on Breaking Dawn that I shared previously still stand. The second half definitely did go by much quicker, had a lot more action in it. The fight scene isn't anywhere near as good in the book than in the movie because again, we're stuck in Bella's perspective. So the whole situation with Alice walking up to Aro and seeing her vision doesn't happen at all. So again, we have come to find that the books are better than the movie. Wait, no. The movies are better than the books. I'm just gonna say that as a blanket statement across the whole series. The movies are better than the books. To do a final wrap up and rating of each book, we started off with Twilight. I gave this a 4 stars, even though, guys, I am rating this for vibes. The writing, not a 4 stars. Realistically, the writing in this is like a 3. It's nothing offensively bad, but it's also not something that really stands out and is going to stick with you. This book is purely for vibes. New Moon, 2 stars. Jacob and Bella are literally just a recipe for disaster. A whole book focusing on them two specifically is actually my worst nightmare, I think. 2 stars, never going to read this book again. Eclipse, our actual 3 stars of the series. Again, nothing offensively bad. I don't think this book is really necessary to the plot. Not something that I'm gonna really remember, and nothing that I'm going to seek out again or reread. Ending it off with Breaking Dawn, this is a realistic 4 stars. The plot takes a lot of twists and turns. We learn a lot within this book. We get another POV in this book. We get new characters introduced. There's a lot more complexity going on within the plot and our characters' relationships, which I appreciate. So this is a realistic 4 stars. I would consider rereading this for a future fall time. Do I think that's gonna be next year? No. But I would say reading Twilight and Breaking Dawn are your best options and really do give you all the vibes you're looking for. So we are done. If you're new here, please go ahead, give this video a like, make sure you subscribe. I really did go through a lot filming this one, so I hope you guys enjoyed. This video is going up the day before Halloween, so if you are watching this whenever this is released, I hope you have a happy and safe Halloween. And very excitingly, over the weekend we hit over 100 subscribers, so I just want to say thank you to those who subscribed. I definitely hope to see you again in upcoming videos, but for now, this is where I will love you and leave you, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.